Good evening. I'm Sharon Barnett. I'm a city resident. I'm also a past president of the League of Women Voters, and I'm here in both capacities, both as a city voter and resident and as a representative of the League. The document that you draft and propose needs to address the problems that are obvious in the city, and I can reiterate those, but they were mentioned. You know, declining population, our decline relative to areas extrinsic to us, poverty. I don't think anyone mentioned merit. You may want to put qualifications for particular high officials and officers in your document. Some think there are problems with patronage in our area, tax burdens increasing, youth and talent flight. Larry Johnson spoke at length about stagnation and the lack of typical turnover in council positions. So theme number 2 is address, have the document address, and try to deal with obvious problems that our city is suffering from. Several persons adverted to checks and balances. Of course, we in the League think that this is crucial. And it's crucial for several reasons. It'll make your government function better. It'll also cause your electorate to want to vote for it and adopt the document. If a strong mayor provision is incorporated in the charter and you couple that with recall and you couple that with a strengthened legislative branch, perhaps by reducing the number of council persons, then voters aren't going to be fearful of a strong mayor. But if a strong mayor provision is there in isolation, arguably voters should be concerned about a real imbalance in power. The document also has to be fundamentally fair. And in that regard, someone needs to provide this body with proper information concerning drawing up districts. We have racial polarization in this community. I can tell you that as of the last county charter movement, because MJ Mingy assigned me to research that to see if we could have at-large council districts. And in my opinion, it wasn't even close. So that's a tricky issue, and we need to make sure those districts are fairly drawn. And that racial polarization is properly taken into account. There needs to be provision for the future. Our charter doesn't have any kind of review provision. I talked to several city clerks around the state of Florida, and, well, I know you all won't favor Miami, but the person in Miami actually started laughing when I said we didn't have a review provision where a commission would be impaneled every so many years and review it, just as you are now. In fact, he said, oh my goodness, the issue shouldn't be whether it's reviewed, but who gets on the commission. So the future needs to be provided for. I know I'm giving you a lot of information. So to summarize, the sound document would be appropriate for us based on the facts. It would have proper balance of power, checks and balances. It'll be fundamentally fair in all respects, and it will provide for the future. I'd like to conclude by commenting on the resources that you can use. The League, as you probably know, is nonpartisan. We're just concerned about the process. We're concerned about things like protecting people's voting rights, making sure no one's discriminated against. Any work we'll do, we do it pro bono. We worked over a year and a half on this, and we're happy to continue to work with you all in any way we could. There's an extensive history here. I've retained virtually all the emails, the memos, the drafts of previous provisions. There's notes of meetings. Multiple meetings were held on certain provisions with the city attorney, the city manager, the supervisor of election, council members. All of that is out there, and that might be helpful or shorten your work. In addition, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are other charters, many of them. They're online. You can pull them up yourself. There's Municode in Tallahassee that's fairly inexpensive, and they do reviews. You may want to avail yourself of that. And then finally, I encourage you to be your own best resource. We learned so much, we in the League, from the last process. I was the most surprised person in the world when I found out that election provision was an ordinance or didn't exist. I never dreamed the city of Pensacola hadn't adopted a charter after home rule was implemented. Never dreamed it. So I really learned. So read, study, ask questions, and then you'll be able to help your consultants even more, because you'll be able to engage in really meaningful dialogue with them, and you're so lucky to have them. So we're here if we can be helpful. And as to particular provisions, I can go into as much detail as anyone wants, probably. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all your good work. I'm really excited about the future. It's going to help our city quite a lot, I think.
Thank you, Ms. Barnett.